A reading from the book Never Again, The Evil Cycle of Addiction and How to Heal from It. Discover the hidden ingredient of recovery and break free now. Author Helen Lidman. Introduction. A guide to healing from addiction for those suffering and the healthcare community. Through the content of the pages in this book, I hope to convey, in a simple and educational way, the knowledge that for me was absolutely crucial to being able to start living and managing a happy, sober life. Before I learned the information that I will share with you in this book, I could never imagine myself living a life without alcohol. The whole idea of a sober life overwhelmed me with fears of boredom, like I would be doomed to live a life without any meaning at all. And that was because the only light in my life was the next party, the next drink, the next kick. However, that wasn't so much fun at all, actually, when it came to the point. Perhaps the first hour or so it was. But then my messed up mind caught me and I just became obnoxious, rude, and self-centered, full of drama. The time of temporary relief and enjoyment was so volatile. Today, I take care of my life and the adventure life can be, rather than throwing it away on drunkenness, hangovers, and constantly planning around alcohol or being caught in other addictive behaviors. I take no credit for the message itself. It's nothing I've invented. I'm only a channel and a messenger. However, I am a living proof that it works. This is a simple recipe, and I will share with you how it's been formed and manifested in my whole being and the conduct of my life. I want to create awareness about the illness of addiction, whether the addictive symptom is an abuse of alcohol, drugs, overwork in business, relationships, sex, success, perfectionism, overeating, or whatever the preferred substance or dysfunctional behavior. The root cause is the same, whatever superficial addictive symptom you may suffer from. This book can be used as a guide for you to determine if you have an illness of addiction and how to heal from it. To identify and acknowledge the addiction is the very first point to change and enable a recovering lifestyle. It's of great importance that you yourself determine if you have addictive behaviors. What happens when other people around you try to tell you that you seem to have a problem? I'll tell you about my experience. Whenever someone suggested that I should cut down on my drinking, that I was out of line or just should calm down, my immediate response was, "Mind your own business. Don't tell me what to do. I got this." Like a stubborn 4-year-old who won't let anyone help, I could do this on my own. But after a while, I just found myself in my own self-made mess again. Always too full of pride and shame to reach out and ask someone for help. If you won't admit that you have a problem with addiction, there's no point whatsoever for the people around you to try to tell you about it. No addict who still finds any pleasure in their addiction or substance will ever make that necessary shift in life. The association must be changed. It is only the addict's own monumental suffering that will ignite a spark and longing for change and a chance to get out of the pain. How long have you tried to get sober or tried to get out of your addiction? How much more suffering will you go through and put others through? You, yourself, your family, your friends, your employer? How much more of your time and your life are you going to throw away? An addict suffers from an illness and is a very sick person. It is not a matter of choice, and it is not a matter of only bad character and failing to pull oneself together. Just as no one can tell any other person who is suffering from some kind of chronic disease, you should just get yourself together and get yourself out of it. It is likewise pointless saying the same to an addict. If I could have gotten out of it on my own, with my own strength, I would have done so. And if that were all that it takes, there wouldn't be so many people around the world suffering from addiction. But alone is not strong. Alone is screwed. You cannot do it with your own strength and by yourself. Much of this book refers to alcoholism, which has been the primary addiction symptom for myself, as well as love addiction. However, I have applied the principles in this book to many other addictions and dysfunctional behaviors as well. The illness of addiction is described as being threefold. It has to do with the fact that we as humans are three-part beings, that we consist of spirit, body, and soul. And alcoholism deeply affects every single one of these three parts of the human being. Alcoholism is also described as a chronic disease, a hopeless condition, which one really should not be able to do anything about. That is, medical science has no cure or real help for alcoholism. This is because medical care only treats two parts of the human being, the body and the soul, the flesh and the mind. Medicine is not allowed to treat the spiritual part of man, for the simple reason that traditional medical care is based on natural science. As a result, medical care is simply not allowed to treat patients according to spiritual means. Therefore, the diagnosis is named chronic alcoholism, meaning that it is incurable from a medical point of view. But millions of people have found a solution to their addiction by following the spiritual path. An honest doctor or therapist who has good knowledge about the illness of addiction and knows the limited resources they have to work with an addict will refer a patient to further personal help from other recovering addicts for long-term sobriety. I got fantastic help from the healthcare system during my first year sober. It took quite a while, but after a few months with help from an alcohol therapist, I was able to open my eyes and have a first profound, honest glimpse of my situation and drinking habits. It was January 2010, and I had just found out that I was pregnant. It turned my life upside down completely. I had been in a dysfunctional roller coaster relationship for 7 years, breaking up every now and then, only to get back together shortly afterwards. I got pregnant just after one of those reunions of course it should be you and me forever. I wasn't sure that it would be us for that long, but I was sure that I wanted to keep the baby, even though I might end up raising it on my own. Then, pretty quickly, I was overwhelmed with a thought in my mind exclaiming, "Hey, Helen, if you're going to do this, you can't drink." It was the first time ever that I, from the bottom of my heart and soul, truly sensed how much alcohol meant to me, and it scared the shit out of me. I was terrified at the thought that I would not be able to cope. I didn't want to quit drinking, but I wanted to do what was best for the child. I never had a thought, though, that I would stop drinking altogether. It was just about right now, only for today, one day at a time. I had a lot of support from my alcohol therapist and the healthcare center I went to during my first year sober. I remained sober, though it was really tough sometimes. I can't say that I was content with the sober life, but I did okay. I received strength to end the dysfunctional and unhealthy relationship I was caught up in. I practiced being honest about myself and my condition, and speaking out loud what was going on inside my mind. The best help and advice I ever got from my therapist was her honesty when she told me, "We can't do more for you here now. You need to continue your journey with fellowship with other recovering addicts." For me, at that point, it didn't make much sense, but I'm forever grateful that I trusted her and followed the recommendation. I had had my startup with her and was ready to take a leap of faith and get more involved in fellowship with other people living a recovering lifestyle. And it has been my foundational platform of living ever since. A person who truly connects with the message in their heart will never be the same again, and will never be able to drink or use their addiction with the same old habitual mindset again. There are already millions of testimonies around the world of people who advocate the principles discussed in this book. People who were hopelessly lost. People who have been condemned for the betterment by doctors, families, and society. But people for whom, after embracing the message, and together with other recovering people in a loving community and with the power of God, have experienced that a happy, sober lifestyle is truly possible. The perception of God is most individual, personal, and intimate for every human being. It can sometimes be difficult to put into words and speak about with other people around you, even with other people who also already may be believers. As the years have gone by, I have found myself more and more drawn to the wisdom of the Christian tradition and principles. And it's a bit peculiar and extraordinary since I don't have much of that from my upbringing or from other family members. I was born and raised in Sweden, which is one of the most agnostic and atheistic countries on the globe. And there is no place for God in the everyday life for the average Swede. I didn't have any Christian role models during my youth. I have come to believe, based on my own experiences, when experimenting through prayer and meditation and following the directions revealed in my heart. From my perspective, it's up to every single person to find their own spiritual path. My hope is that every reader is able to read this book with an open mind and a sense of curiosity. We are all our own personal spiritual experiments. There is nothing to lose by trying to seek wholeheartedly, but rather everything to win. Our lives are at stake, and the quality of our way of living. This book can be used as a guide. Follow the road signs along this hidden path to recovery. It's too big not to share in a larger context. Everyone who hears the message says, everyone should know this.